Well, I think we saw this coming all along. Of course, none of us saw the margin of victory that eventually transpired. But, you know, I served as the national vice chairman of Governor Reagan's campaign, and I could see people wanting change. In fact, poll after poll showed that even above inflation and above our serious crime problems, people were talking about the leadership vacuum in our country.
Well, by law, our political parties have very little strength. The only thing a political party can do is to register voters and turn out voters and support candidates in the general election. So there's little influence that the party itself has on primary elections. We are a non-patronage state, therefore everything is really done on its merits. We are such a large state geographically and diverse population-wise that it takes media generally to win elections, and we're really somewhat of a bifurcated state, both north and south and east and west. That the progressive parts of the state are generally either in the northern section or the western coastal sections, and the conservative parts are either in the south or what you will maybe divided east-west as you get in farther from the coast.
Well, that one started in 1968. It was ran at the time, and we're getting interested in some social problems that are facing the country. And the thing that concerned us is that the lead time for solution of many of these problems was much, much longer than we felt that necessary if we had better long-range planning tools, if we can see things a little clearer. Because at that time, planning was a 2-year or 5-year cycle. We wanted to extend that to 10 or 15 years. And we didn't have the tools, we didn't know what we were going to do. So we set off to create a new non-for-profit institute.
Well, I was one of the students in the last great age of apathy on the campuses in the late 1950s. And I was an idealist with nowhere to go, with no outlet that I knew of. I therefore was a student editor. I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to cover issues and world affairs. And several things happened that I guess made me put down my pencil and become an activist. One was simply the arrival of John F. Kennedy and his presidency. I became involved in the first group to advocate the Peace Corps in Ann Arbor, and candidate John Kennedy listened. He legitimized the idea that youth had a role to play in history, which is very important.
I mean, he was certainly alienated from the mainstream system of values. He just particularly hated Reagan and that whole political bunch. And yet, I wouldn't say exactly he had sympathy for Hinckley or for radicals generally. And there was resentment there, and yet there was never any hope or ambition on his part to actually do anything active or take radical measures.
Well, what we're talking about is Leo McCarthy suggested about $2.5 billion to be sent to the cities, the counties, and the school districts. That would provide very little. In other words, if the schools lose $3 billion, we might be able to help with half of that. If the counties lose a couple of billion, maybe we can help with about a half of that. But for the cities, because they do have other taxing sources, and because our obligation to the school districts and the counties is of a statewide character, we have to place a greater amount. So it's a very difficult cutting process. It is not a very pleasant reality, but it's the one we will have to live with.
I think we have a chance to move it toward a change. I think out in California, Bob, the big issue really isn't gender. It's an agenda for change, because California's economy now has a 9.8% unemployment rate, with about 740,000 people losing their jobs since 1990. So the real issue is moving the economy, and the real family value out here is a job. And I think we've got to move away from the supply side rhetoric of the 80s and be able to put people back to work and invest in our economy. That's the issue in California. Women are seen as spear throwers of change. We're not the same thing repeating itself. And I think many of us coming into the Congress will be coming in with some new programs to put the emphasis back on people in this nation.
I can't remember now what the outcome was or when. I think it did fine once that it was past that period and then available in theaters without reserved seats.
Well, the work we're doing is, it's not like, we're doing the same thing all day long. We go into our offices and think up new programs, we get together in meetings, we go out and see end users, we talk to customers. There's so much variety, and there's always new things going on. And I don't think there'll ever come a time when that would be boring.